The unscheduled stop. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the peaceful tree-lined avenues of a quiet suburb. It was a world of neatly trimmed lawns and the distant cheerful cries of children playing. Through this tranquil scene moved Arthur Pendleton, a man whose life was anything but tranquil. He was at the helm of his new Jaguar, a machine of midnight blue steel and hand-stitched leather, its engine a low, predatory purr. Arthur's world was one of quarterly reports, tight deadlines, and the relentless pursuit of the next goal. He was late for a meeting, a fact that sat poorly with him, and his foot pressed a little harder on the accelerator. The car was his latest acquisition, a symbol of his success, and he revelled in its silent power. The scent of new leather filled his nostrils, a perfume of victory. He glanced at the polished walnut dashboard, then back at the road. He was travelling just a little too fast for a residential street, a fact he acknowledged with a flicker of impatience. He was watching, peripherally, for the darting shapes of children or pets, the unpredictable hazards of suburban life. For a moment, he thought he saw a flash of movement between a parked delivery van and a silver saloon car. His foot eased instinctively towards the brake, the Jaguar dipping its nose slightly. He scanned the pavement. Nothing. Just a stillness, a quiet tableau of suburban life. With a small sigh of irritation at the delay, he accelerated again. He had passed the spot by no more than 20 yards when it happened. There was a sudden, sickening thud against the driver's side door. It was not a metallic crunch, but a dense, ugly impact that sounded both heavy and final. Arthur's heart hammered against his ribs. He slammed on the brakes, the tyres screeching in protest on the smooth tarmac. For a moment he just sat there, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. His mind raced through a catalogue of horrors. Had he hit someone, an animal? He took a deep, shuddering breath and looked in his wing mirror. Nothing. Then his eyes fell upon the source of the sound. A common house brick lay on the road, and just beyond it, a small boy was peering from behind the silver saloon car. Rage, hot and absolute, surged through Arthur. The shock gave way to a wave of pure fury. The audacity, his brand-new car, his sanctuary, violated. He wrenched the car into reverse, the engine snarling, and shot back to the spot. He threw the door open, the satisfyingly solid thunk now sounding jarringly loud in the quiet street. He stormed towards the child, a small boy of about 10, with a shock of brown hair and wide, frightened eyes. He grabbed the thin fabric of the boy's T-shirt, his voice a low, dangerous growl. "What on earth did you think you were doing? Do you have any idea what you've just done?" The boy flinched, his face pale. Tears were already welling. "Please, mister, I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do," he stammered, his voice trembling. "I had to make someone stop." "Stop?" Arthur's voice rose incredulous. "By throwing a brick? That's a new car. That damage will cost a fortune to repair. Why? Why did you do it?" The boy didn't answer with words. Instead, with tears now streaming freely down his face, he pointed a trembling finger towards the front of the parked van. "It's my brother. He fell." Arthur's anger faltered, pricked by the boy's genuine distress. He let go of the T-shirt and followed the boy's gaze. There, partially hidden from the road, was a scene that made the breath catch in his throat. A small, overturned wheelchair lay on its side, one wheel still spinning slowly, and on the pavement next to it lay another, even smaller boy, his face etched with pain and silent embarrassment. He was trying to push himself up, but one leg was twisted awkwardly beneath him. The world seemed to reorient itself around Arthur. The important meeting, the gleaming car, the fury, it all evaporated, replaced by a profound and humbling silence. The lump that rose in his throat was hard and painful. "He rolled off the curb," the older boy explained, his voice thick with unshed sobs. "The ramp slipped. I tried to lift him, but he's too heavy for me. I shouted for help, but all the cars just went past so fast." Moved beyond words, Arthur walked over to the fallen child. He knelt, his expensive suit trousers creasing on the dusty pavement. "It's all right, son," he said, his voice softer than he had heard it in years. "Let's get you sorted." He gently checked the boy over. There was a nasty scrape on his knee, bleeding sluggishly, and his hands were grazed, but nothing seemed broken. With a tenderness that surprised himself, Arthur carefully scooped the handicapped boy into his arms. He was lighter than he looked, all sharp angles and surprising fragility. He carried him the few feet to the wheelchair, which the older brother had already righted. After settling him back into the seat, Arthur took a pristine white handkerchief from his breast pocket, dabbed at the bloody knee, and gently cleaned the dirt from the scrapes. The younger boy looked up at him, his tear-filled eyes full of a quiet dignity. "Thank you," he said softly. "Thank you, and may God bless you," the older brother added, his relief palpable. Arthur could only nod, the lump in his throat making speech impossible. He stood and watched as the older boy took the handles of the wheelchair and began the slow, careful journey down the pavement towards a house at the end of the street. He walked back to his Jaguar, the purring engine now seeming intrusive and obscene. He opened the door and his eyes fell on the damage. A deep, ugly dent marred the perfect midnight blue panel. The paintwork shattered in a fine spiderweb pattern around the point of impact. It was a glaring imperfection, a wound in the car's flawless skin. He got in and drove away, not to his meeting, but back to his office. He drove slowly, obeying every speed limit, noticing for the first time the colours of the flowers in the window boxes he passed. He never did get the dent repaired. For the rest of its life, the car carried that scar. It became a permanent physical reminder for him. It was a message delivered with the brutal honesty of a child's desperation. Sometimes life whispers to us in the rustle of leaves or the quiet needs of others. It nudges us to slow down, to pay attention, to see what is truly important beyond our narrow lane. But if we are moving too fast to hear the whisper, life may have no choice but to throw a brick. Arthur Pendleton had learned his lesson. He had been forced into an unscheduled stop, and in doing so had been put back on the right road.